So here we are, arriving down in the maintenance area. Now, if you'll recall from the very beginning, I said we'd be needing that Kloop's beer for later.
Be a nice guy and get out of here. I got work to do. I can't afford to stand around and talk.
I should say it doesn't matter what you say to this guy, the dialogue's the same.
A Kloop's beer? There wasn't a drop left in the whole center. I was beginning to die of thirst. Hey, you saved my life, pal. Yeah, my name's Kamir. I take care of Mecha and slider maintenance in the center. Crazy job. Those damn Mecha guards are always breaking down. Spend all my time patching them up. How about you? What are you investigating these days? Yeah? I always wanted to be an investigating agent, but I'm too fond of the beer. So I ended up here, fiddling around with mechas. Make yourself at home, pal. Beats me why you'd want to snoop around this dump.
So doing that allows you to rifle around in all of these rooms. If you approach any of these doors before giving him a beer and triggering that dialogue, he'll stop you and you cannot go inside. Here we get the Mecha Guard specifications, which if you read, tells you that there's an OX 2600 control kit. Oh, what's this? I'll just pocket that. I mean, I gave him a beer. I'm allowed. And then you get a memo talking about the archives. Gee, I wonder what the game wants you to do. And this is yet another reminder. The command circuits are in the eye of the Mecha Guard. So now it's time to find said Mecha Guard. And we just found an empty workstation. Just take control of that. Yep. Slot this here. And there we go. It should be said that we could go to the archives right now and none of this is necessary. You also cannot ride any of those motorcycles. They're called slider bikes. So, now that we have the control unit installed on the Mecha Guard, we need to go to the surveillance room. And this is it. Quite sparse. A quick diversion here. We're going to pick up some items in this room. Assuming there's anything in these lockers. They are not random, but I just kind of go by a line regardless. Another memo on the archives. Hey, idiot, you're supposed to be looking for the archives. So, unfortunately, there's a guy currently sitting at the computer that controls the Mecha Guards, as you can see. We need to get him off of that computer, and we cannot talk to him, because Kale does not know what to do with that. So how about we come in here, and how about we mess around with this control panel? That looks safe. I don't know what that did, but alright. Oh.
This
Got a problem?
goddamn computer's broken down again. How are we supposed to work in conditions like this? I'm gonna get the maintenance man.
So now he leaves. Now, obviously the computer's turned off. We cannot use it ourselves, so let's just put the fuse back. The door clips through the fuse. Ladies and gentlemen, unbeknownst to seemingly everyone I have ever seen play this game, you can control a mech oh, but it gets better. The archives communicate with the vault in the terminal room which contains my dossier. Certain doors can be unlocked by means of a switch. I'd better not waste any time or I'll end up in a mecha dump. You get a mech shooter section. Now, unfortunately, it plays just like every other first-person shooter section. And there are no alternate weapons that you can use as the Mecha Guard. But alas, here it is. It's unfortunate that at the time the game was bugged, and in your upper right-hand corner of the screen, there should be a functioning radar, and it's just not working right now. I'll suffer a death here. I was not paying attention. Seeing my health go down. Your health is that very thin blue bar to the far left of the screen. However, so long as you have save rings, death in the first-person shooter sections is not really that much of a problem. In order to heal, you need to find a floor panel, which will just instantaneously restore 100 HP. Repeatedly, I might add. As is indicated by the noise. It should be noted as well that the crosshairs are misaligned. You actually aim slightly to the right of the center point on the crosshair. A bit of a control snafu there. I thought you simply had to walk into the switch to activate it. Instead, you actually do need to press the interact button. To fill for time, I'd never properly talked about the first-person shooter controls in the robbery segment. You control your character not through WASD, but via the cursor or arrow keys. Shoot is your left mouse button. Right mouse button does nothing. Alt, yes, Alt, switches your weapons. And if you do need to interact with anything, for example in this section, you have to reach up and press Enter. I've seen several instances of people talking about how awkward the controls are. Most of that has to do with feel. What it is that they are experiencing is that whenever you move in a certain direction, there's a delay in your character building momentum. That's why you might experience the controls as being clunky or loose, as it were. Your character must accelerate to top speed. They do not immediately go into top speed. And this is also with regard to changing direction. The audio here, unfortunately, bugged out, and the missile pods, I suppose, stopped making noise. It is what it is. And that is the door that leads to the archives. And that's it! One last time, I need to say, all of that was completely unnecessary. You can simply give Captain Leia the drugged cup of coil. You can get her police badge, and you can simply enter the archives, even with the Mecha guard standing there. It will not do anything to stop you as long as you have Leia's police badge. So there are a couple of noteworthy things in the archives, the most noteworthy being your dossier that you need. But there's a number of references to the leaders of Omikron covering up cases that would be unsavory. For example, this one is kind of funny. It talks about Minister Irtaz having relations with a minor, and the case is closed on behalf of, or by order of, Minister Irtaz. Soliciting a minor is not funny, but haha, corruption. It's awful. So, we got the location of Den's body from the dossier. We now have access to a new location, Morgue Zone 42, which is a short run from Security HQ. I should note, it is actually faster to just run there than it is to call a car. Oh, that vision was exhausting.
Can I help you, sir?
I'm investigating. I'd like to see Meditech Udin.
Meditech Udin is in the crematorium. It's the door to your left.
Thanks. You must talk to this guy before you can access the rest of the morgue. Hello, I've come to see the autopsies.
In all my career as a Meditech coroner, it's the first time I see bodies in such a state. They were ripped to pieces, probably by teeth or claws. Parts of them were even devoured, eaten raw.
Tell me about the wounds.
The wounds look like they were inflicted by a wild animal, except for the fact that the victims were destroyed systematically and mercilessly.
Was death instantaneous?
No. That's probably the most horrible part. The murderer seems to have enjoyed making the victims suffer without killing them.
Did you learn anything about the murderer?
The murderer has supernatural strength and is capable of inhuman savagery. But he's no fool. He didn't leave a single trace for us to pick up on. It's as if he's literally disappeared.
Is Din's body here? Or what was the exact cause of death?
The cause of death is always the same. Heart attack. The suffering was so great that in the end, the heart couldn't take it. Yes. The eyes were always open and rolled back. It looks as if the life force was literally drained out of the poor unfortunates.
I asked if he noticed anything weird. I'd like to examine one of the bodies.
I've just finished my autopsy on the last body. You can examine it if you feel you can stomach the sight.
Thank you. So the path I took there has the greatest amount of dialogue. If you immediately ask about Din's body, he will simply tell you to go and see for yourself. Now, seeing as how Kale makes a bad habit out of taking whatever he lays eyes on if he's just within the room, he immediately picks up a surgical instrument. Corpse from the vision. Tag says Maya 121. There seems to be something under one of the nails of her left hand. Impossible to disengage unless you use a surgical instrument. And you get a corpse sample. We'll need that later. The face has been lacerated. There's probably nothing left. Practically nothing left. The chest is crushed. All the bones have been broken. And the legs are covered with deep wounds. So again, even though this is ostensibly a medical facility, Kale's just going to pocket everything that he sees. And we can afford to use a small med kit. A robot for automatic dissection. Brrr, I didn't need to see that. So here, you can actually pull out all of these bodies. Two of them have items that you can get. One of them, I think, is a save ring, and the other one is a note. But I'm not going to bother with that because it takes forever. Instead, we'll just pull out Din immediately. Din's body's in a bad state. The sneak is badly damaged. More visions. What's the connection with Din? Also, I teleported. Now over here is a neat little interaction. If you use the corpse sample on this analyzer, it says, sample analysis, organic tissue, no DNA, molecular structure unknown, conclusion, organic tissue from a non-human being. Here I consider making a save game, but then there's a better place to make a save game. For those of you who want to know, if you pick the advice button, it will consume 5 of your save rings, and it will just tell you kind of a odd little message, a vague little hint about where to go. It should also be noted that there's an easy way to exploit that, in that you save the game, then take advice, and then load your save. That way you do not consume 5 save rings. So now that we know, we need to get Den's sneak repaired. And we could go to Tarek and figure out that we need to take it to a guy named Fuan, but instead I just know that you go to Fuan. Right here, I'm deliberating on whether or not to go and do the temple side quest. If you'll remember the ancient scroll item we picked up in Kale's office, it talked about a temple in Kalasar. At first I decide to go ahead and just progress with the main story, until thinking about, until realizing the way that story triggers happen. I really need to weave in this temple visit before I do all the Harvey's Bar stuff. So, I go back and time to call a car. And this will reveal a often missed feature, and that is you can manually control the slider. All you have to do is choose the option that says calling the slider at the top of the sneak screen, and then whenever you're prompted to pick a destination, you simply move the cursor to the right and select manual. Driving over here brings us to this weird temple. Looks like a sort of abandoned temple. Now, if you remember what the scroll said, it talked about a star and a rock. In fact, let's pull up that note and make sure. From the heart of the star, tend towards the rock, tend towards east. Now, if you follow those instructions, and they are actually accurate, if you count 10 walking steps forward and 10 to the right, you'll be brought over here, and if you press the interact button, there's a switch. Inside is a secret compartment with a reincarnation spell. Magic is real, along with Jaffile's parchment. Into the most powerful book of all the universe, for a moment, I plunged my gaze. From the Book of Naut, I stole this secret, a magical spell to transfer the soul. Use the spell near the one you wish to take, and instantly your soul his body will occupy. You must have a sufficient amount of mana, for to steal a soul requires an aura. This spell will not work with all, for certain souls are sometimes too strong. So not misuse your power, or you will lose many advantages in return. I try to give myself in the future plenty of time to read it, because the text is kind of, is really hard to decipher from a first glance. I just happen to know what it says. So, now that we have the reincarnation spell, which that will be important later, we'll need it, we're now going to head right back to Harvey's Bar. But because I'm me and I'm kind of dumb, I immediately took manual control again, even though automatic would have technically been faster in this case. And we're off, not to Harvey's Bar, but first we're off to see Fuan, indicated by the sign.
Hey, I know what it's like. Sometimes even I get the hungry.
Welcome to Fuhan's. What can I do for you?
Are you Fuon?
Depends. What you want from him?
It says it on his sign. He just said. I've been told Fuon could repair the sneak.
Terrible state. I might be able to save certain objects from inventory. That good enough?
How much?
It will cost you 400 SEDEX.
Why, that's the price of a new sneak.
Your sneak's in a very bad way, very bad. Either you want it repaired and you pay, or you don't and you chuck it in bin. It takes years of experience to repair a sneak, so of course it's expensive.
All right, here you go.
I've transferred objects from broken sneak into your sneak. You need electronics? Come see Fuan. You need more? See Fuan. I'm the best and cheapest in all of Omikron.
Okay, bye. So I'm not going to comment on that. Instead, I want to pick up this Sharmet tournament flyer, which unfortunately I cannot yet because my sneak inventory is full. Time to dump stuff. But, unbeknownst to you, because you did not get prompted, Den's police badge is the only item that you get from his broken sneak. And you need to pick up this flyer, and you need to read it. It talks about an illegal underground fighting ring, where you can win thousands of SEDEX. And the way that you access it is you go to a certain store in Kalasar, and you ask for a Mecha lamp. And we will now go to the store in question, make a save game, and that will be waiting for us in the next episode.